ومريم ابنة عمران التي أحصنت فرجها فنفخنا فيه من روحنا وصدقت بكلمات ربها وكتبه وكانت من القانتين.
Alhamdulillah, الذي أحيانا بعد ما موتنا وإليه النشور. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, we beseech Him in His infinite mercy to send His blessings on the noblest of mankind, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his household and those who thread His path till the day of resurrection. Welcome to your program, our program, The Virtuous Woman. And on this episode, we are going to be discussing a very beautiful and wonderful topic. It's been a while I used the word wonderful and beautiful together, but really the topic is indeed wonderful and beautiful. I have with me in the house a woman of repute, a mentor, a teacher. Like I always say on this program, we talk about everything and anything about the comprehensiveness of Islam. And inshallah, she'll be talking to us about modesty. Modesty, I just said that. But before we go deep into the topic, I am Bushra Olagunju. I'm going to be your host as usual on the program. Join me after this short break.
إن المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات والقانتين والقانتات والصادقين والصادقات والصابرين والصابرات والخاشعين والخاشعات والمتصدقين والمتصدقات والصائمين والصائمات والحافظين فروجهم والحافظات والذاكرين الله كثيرا والذاكرات أعد الله لهم مغفرة وأجرا عظيما.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome aboard. If you are just joining us, the program is The Virtuous Woman and I am Bushra Olagunju. In the house with me is Hadia Ghaniya Tijani. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the program. How is work and how is the family? Alhamdulillah. I'm sure she's a new face, you're not so acquainted with her, but I can promise you that you will really enjoy it. I did say that the topic for today is modesty. She's going to be taking us through what modesty is and modesty in Islam. Hadia Ghaniya, the topic seems to be a bit familiar to the people, obviously, but the question I ask is, why the need to discuss modesty? What's the relevance of Islam and modesty at all?
Modesty is I could say, is even entrenched in the religion itself. You know, Islam is not just about professing of faith, it's about, you know, applying it in all your daily activities, your life and all that. And, you know, Islam is not just about action, it's about your understanding and it's about the way you live your life. And so modesty is one of the core of Islam. You know, as a person, a Muslimah or a Muslim, whether you're male or female, the way you carry yourself, the way you go about your regular activities, the way you relate with people, human beings, animals, non-living things, inanimate objects, everything you do, it has to reflect that you have faith in God, the creator of everything. And so modesty runs through all our activities, actions, inactions, thoughts, beliefs and all that. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. What a very beautiful way to open the program. Modesty is what she has just told us in about a few seconds. Hadia, this time around, you know, we're in the month of Ramadan, and of course, so many Muslims want to use this period to be able to increase in faith, to be able to build themselves, and at the same time correct some other things about themselves. In what ways do you think that the society has really gone sour when it comes to modesty? There are some things that we probably, the society as a whole, that the society encourages, that has really breached the concept of modesty. Or there are some attributes or attitudes as individuals, rather, that we portray that doesn't make a female or a Muslim woman, for instance, show that she's really modest. What are those things in the society that really has to be addressed?
Okay, oh God, that's a million-dollar question. There are so many, there are numerous, I must say, but okay, let me start. the issue of boasting, so to speak, I think we live in a jet age. You buy a new car, you put it on Facebook, you want everybody to know you're carrying a designer handbag, it's worth 30,000 naira, or you got it from Dubai or from Paris or something, you know. This issue of materialism, you know, we're so materialistic, and the society tends to appreciate or value only people who seem to have material things. You know, to come were the days when we value people for their faith, you know, their humility, their contribution to society, their truthfulness and all that. But now, we seem to respect only the people with the largest amounts in their bank accounts, or people with the, you know, the most recent car, or people with the flashiest of houses and all that. So, you know, our value system is broken down, is destroyed. What we value is no longer, you know, the virtues of human character anymore. The society values only materialism, and so that's just taking away modesty. So everybody wants to also, you know, show that, oh, they've just come back from a trip to Dubai, or they just bought this bag from a designer, you know, and all that. And it's driving people to evil, crimes, sins, and all that, because everybody wants to measure up, and it's not easy to, you know, spend lavishly from regular legal earnings, and so people tend to now, you know, do so many things, illegal, sinful things, just to be able to get money, to be able to, you know, also live that kind of life, also, you know, measure up, if I'm allowed to say that.
Most times when we talk about modesty, even in accordance with the religion of Islam, most times when the issue of modesty is talked about, there's always a special focus on the women folk. Why is there so much attention given to, for instance, now when a woman is outside, there's a way you're expected to talk, there's a way you're expected to smile, not the usual very loud laugh. Why is there so much peculiarity, so much focus on the woman folk when it comes to the issue of modesty? Is it that we're so slack or something?
Generally, or as
generally?
Okay, well, generally, the world plays a lot of, you know, there's a lot of expectation on the women, and this is not out of place, because a woman she's the one that builds the home, she's the one that builds the society, and if the women are not, if the women are corrupt, if they've lost their virtues, if they are not, you know, if they are not adequate, the society, the home will lack, the children will lack, the society would not be better for it. So I guess it's just natural that a woman that is embodied with so much responsibility is you know, expected to be modest, because lots of responsibility is, you know, placed on the woman.
Thank you very much. Lots of responsibility is placed on the woman, and of course, so much is really expected from her. On this program, we are known to always address not just the Muslims alone, but in as much as that, we cannot forget our roots. There's this, of course, thought, there's this knowledge that there's nothing we really want to do that is outside what has happened before in the life of the Prophet ﷺ or his companions, or something like that. I know that we have so many of, you know, mothers of the believers. Can you just give us instances whereby during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, either his companions, be it females, be it males, whereby they really exuded this attribute of modesty, and how they really did it?
Well, there are examples abound. I mean, the Muslims, the Sahabas, the early generation of Islam, were people who were modest. You know, their goal was the hereafter. They were not focused on this world, and so the way they lived their life, everything was, you know, it was centered towards the pleasure of Allah. Let's start with the Prophet ﷺ. You know, when he died, his belongings were, well, he has already even said it, that what he can inherit from him is knowledge. But materially, he didn't have anything, and this was somebody that ruled across different continents. You know, he had access to all the diamonds, you know, all the luxuries of the world, but he was sleeping on, you know, on mats, on hard straw and all that. You know, he would take bread. There were times in his life where there was no food in the house and all that. So he was more than modest. He was more than modest. And okay, let's look at the women. You know, the women are supposed to be known for being flamboyant and all that. But I'll give you an example. You know, imagine a first lady. You know, she's supposed to be, you know, attended to and all that. You know, puffed up and puffed up. But look at Umar. You know, there was a time when he was Sahaba, he would go around, you know, looking for, you know, his citizens to be sure they are okay. And then he met a man whose wife was about giving birth. And then he went back home, but he didn't have food, he didn't have anything to help her with. He went back home, he called his wife that, look, I want to call you to the path of God. And she, she gladly stood up. She went, she helped the lady to deliver her baby. The husband helped the man to prepare food. And the man did not know that he was being served by, like the president of the whole world, if I could call him that.
True, of course.
That's the peak of modesty. A good number of us, how many of our representatives, people, whether in the executive or the judiciary or, the legislature, would come down to serve, not just serve as in, performing a function in your office, physically serve the electorate. I mean, this is almost impossible. Yes, I can say so. So that is, that's the peak of modesty. Not just about giving gifts, not just, in relating with the poor and the needy or the less privileged, in physically attending to their needs and attending to them. Yeah, this is, and the Prophet ﷺ is known to, relate to, he was so humble. He would help his wives in the housework, performing house chores in the house. He would play with kids on the road. He would sit down with both the poor and the poor and the rich, the homeless, the slaves, whoever they were. As long as they were human beings, they were important and they were treated with respect.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the angle with which you handled that. For the fact that class wasn't an issue for the Prophet ﷺ and the companions, they really demonstrated
the most righteous, the best among people as Muslims is the most righteous. We respect only people for their faith and their character, and not for their whatever position or status they occupy in the society.
That's a very good one. I really appreciate it. I'm sure that viewers at home must have been able to pick one or two things. And it's still time out with Hadia Ghaniya Tijani on the topic modesty. Just before we go on this short break, let me just ask. There are some things that affects your level of modesty. Or let me put it so to say, because of the environment you find yourself, you probably feel that, okay, I really wish to be modest about the things I do, but I can't just help it probably because of my status or what people are expecting from me. What are those things that people use as excuse for probably not being modest?
Okay, well, number one, trying to live up to societal expectations. But, the society expects you to drive a car, the society expects you to live in a big house and all that. And, see, as a Muslim, if you know that the only standards you have to, fulfill are those, legislated on you by God, then that would not be a problem for you. You would do the right things, of course, but you won't be pushed to satisfying expected societal, ratings and all that. So I feel that, trying to live up to societal expectations is one thing that drives people away from being modest. And another thing is pride and arrogance. People want to be respected, they want to be seen to be in charge, they want to be famous, they want to be, so that's, no matter how much they see the value of modesty, that, they need, the pride, they need to gratify their pride and all that would not prevent them from, and then when people have lost focus, if you know that your goal, like Allah told us in the Quran, the reason for He created mankind and just to worship Him. If you have lost that focus and you've forgotten that you're in this world for a serious business that's preparing for your hereafter, then you would not be modest. But for people who have lost consciousness of their purpose of creation would not be modest because their goal will be this life and it's glittering. So when people don't have focus, they will not be modest.
They'll just lose it.
Yes, and then the people you move with. If you relate with people who are not humble, who are not righteous, and whose goal is even if you want to move, imagine if you're a group of friends and then you're going and maybe something drops from an elderly person's hand. Imagine if you want to pick it, but your friend, oh no, don't worry, you should pick it by yourself, and you may end up leaving it. So if you were to move with good people, they would encourage you. So if you want to fly, you move with eagles. But if you move with people who are not themselves, who are not modest, who are not righteous, they would distract you. Even if you want to be modest, they'll pull you back, and they will make you do what they think is right.
That's a really good one. Haja, by the time we come back from the break, I would expect that we will be able to touch the things, the dangers that are attached to not being modest. And of course, there are still some other things that we might really have to discuss. But just before we do that, if you're just joining us, you haven't missed, join us after this short break.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
قد أفلح المؤمنون الذين هم في صلاتهم خاشعون والذين هم عن اللغو معرضون والذين هم للزكاة فاعلون والذين هم لفروجهم حافظون إلا على أزواجهم أو ما ملكت أيمانهم فإنهم غير ملومين فمن ابتغى وراء ذلك فأولئك هم العادون والذين هم لأماناتهم وعهدهم راعون والذين هم على صلواتهم يحافظون أولئك هم الوارثون الذين يرثون الفردوس هم فيها خالدون.
Welcome aboard. I am Bushra Olagunju, and it's been time out, it's been a chat out with Hajia Ghaniya Tijani, and the topic is modesty. It applies to everybody, be it a man, be it a woman, young, old, women, market women, officials, executive, judiciaries. It applies to everybody, so it means that you really are not left out in this discussion. If you're just joining us, please call somebody else who is yet to join you to join in the forum, and let's really share our minds together. Hajia, I was about saying something the other time, that of course we have known that to be modest means to be moderate about the things you do, and to really be able to, see the good aspects to it. We have brought out experiences from the life of the Prophet, his companions, and now if as we see in the society now, there are means by which people really deviate, from not being modest. Now we say those people are immodest. What are the dangers of not being modest?
Oh, there are so many. Let's just go back a little bit into history. The Second World War.
Okay.
Imagine the Second World War. Was it the first or the Second World War that was fought by, Adolf Hitler? What was the war about? Because he believed that the German blood was superior, and he should, wipe out everybody. So the whole world was at war because a single man was not modest. He believed he was better. What's the origin of the slave trade? The people were taking Africans, and people in the third world as slaves believed they were superior, and so they believed that those people should serve them, and and they went through a lot. Our fathers, our ancestors are evidence of this. So imagine, immodesty can lead to wars. It can lead to whatever. It can break homes, destroy nations, destroy establishments, and all that. Because when people make mistakes, if they are not modest, they will not be humble to accept their mistakes. Imagine if a doctor were to prescribe the wrong drug, and is not modest enough to say, "Look, I think I was wrong." You use it, and then the person could die. So lack of modesty is something that is serious. We might say that modesty is just an attitude, but that attitude has led the whole world to war. It has destroyed homes, it has destroyed communities, it has killed people, it has destroyed economies. So it's something that can even destroy the whole world as a whole. So it's not just about an attitude, it's not just a character. It's something that we must have, because lack of it is very dangerous.
Would you rather agree with me then that modesty is not just about one attitude? It kind of puts so many things into consideration: sincerity, truthfulness. So many things are working together when it comes to modesty.
Modesty is like a filter, So if your filter is blocked, nothing will pass through. But if your filter has the right kind of space, only the right attitude will flow through. So if you are modest, then you can be truthful, you can be humble, you can apologize, you can you can sacrifice, you can endure, you can you can name it. But if you are not humble, if you're not modest, you can't be all of these things, because the foundation is not there. Your filter is blocked. Nothing can pass through. So modesty, you could say, is like the foundation. If you're not modest, you won't even be able to submit yourself to your Creator. If you're not modest, why should you spend your money for the poor? If you're not modest, why should you sacrifice your time for somebody that is sick? So it's unimaginable the impact modesty can have in the life of a person, if he's missing or if he's present.
Well, I don't know about you, but for me, I think I'm really getting inspired. I'm getting thrilled. If you're really learning something, then please don't go away. Well, just some minutes before the end of the program. Hajia, now we have talked about the consequences, the effects that it would have if it's missing or if it's present in the society and of course within ourselves. Now, how does modesty affect the relationship between ourselves and our Creator? What are those things that if I'm modest, are there some things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will probably do for me? If I decide to be immodest, how does it affect my relationship with my God? After all, some people will tell you that it's not about the religion, it's just about my heart. All I need to do is, just be of good character. It doesn't really affect, there are some people who make such statements.
Well,
how do you?
That's very dangerous. Okay, let's mention two people in history who were not modest, and let's see what happened to them, and then we cannot talk about us. Look at Shaitan. He was knowledgeable. He was a righteous person at one point or the other. And then Allah created Adam, and He says, bow to him. And he just could not imagine himself bowing to Adam. And because he was not modest enough to do that, he disobeyed the Creator of the heavens and the earth, and is destined to spend eternity in hellfire, just because he was not modest enough, to humble himself. And look at Pharaoh. He called himself God. Even when he was running after the children of Israel, and Prophet Musa, by the permission of Allah, was able to split the sea. Even the magnificence of that miracle was not even enough to compel him to submit himself to God. And he's drowned today, and then his body is still there, preserved for the whole world to see. But look at Prophet Adam, he made a mistake. He had the the fruit which Allah forbidden him from eating. And then he apologized, and Allah forgave him. And since today we still pray for him. And on the day of judgment, by the will of Allah, he's going to enter paradise. So, if you're not humble, you will not even obey Allah. And then, you see, if you're not modest, you're going to, indirectly, you're going to be worshipping yourself. And that is what Allah says in the Quran, that have you not seen him who takes his desires as gods besides Allah? Because if you're not modest, you're going to be worshipping your desires. So you will not, you don't obey the dictates of Allah, but you'll be obeying the dictates of your desires. So if you think you're Muhammad, Ghani, Khadija, that doesn't make you a Muslim, because you think you're a Muslim, but you're not. You're actually serving your desire, whether you know it or not. So if you're not humble, if you're not modest, you can't serve Allah. You can't serve Allah.
There are some times that in history, at least I think we can still recall the story of people of the cave, whereby when the cave closed on them and they had to start recounting the things they had done. If someone wants to cite that as an example, and will somebody rather see that what happened then? Really what happened was that they began to say the things they had done, so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will probably, because of those things, help them out of their situation. Those things they are doing, is it out of pride, or is it because they just felt that they had been good at one point in time, and God was just supposed to see that and help them out? Okay,
you see, one of the etiquettes of dua is that if you want to pray to Allah, you can tell Allah, okay, oh Allah, I did this so and so thing out of fear of you, out of belief in you. Can you, by the virtue of this, permit me and grant me this? It's one of the things that is, accepted, as an etiquette of prayer, supplicating to God. But apart from that, you see, the fact that they are praying to God, seeking His help, is also a sign of modesty. Because they didn't think that they wanted to, look for a machine or a way to, open the cave by themselves.
They didn't believe they could do it.
They realized that they were the only creator, the only one in control of everything in the heavens and the earth was Allah, is Allah, and they besiege Him. That itself is a sign of modesty. And if you look at the story of the prophet that was swallowed by a fish, that is Prophet Yunus. Well, Allah said, the prophet that was swallowed by a fish, and he prayed to Allah, and Allah caused the fish to spit him out. What did Allah say in the Quran? Allah said, if he had not besieged Allah, he would have been in the stomach of that fish till the day of judgment. So modesty, praying to Allah to grant you something is an act of modesty in itself. The fact that you realize that it's not within your control. Because don't forget, Allah says, if the whole world were to want to give you something, if Allah does not destine it for you, then they will be unable to. So, by realizing that you can't get something by your virtue, that, okay, you're not getting all the straightness because you're just intelligent, or because you're rich and you're powerful, that you're actually getting it with the permission of Allah. By being modest enough to know that if you want something, there's a creator who is in charge of it and who can give it to you. It's a sign of modesty in itself.
Thank you very much.
So praying to Allah and supplicating to Him is indeed an act of modesty, and it's It's not out of
Well,
pride.
taking it from where she stopped, praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is an act of modesty. Do I still need to tell her to probably talk to the viewers at home? She has said it all. What else do you need to know? If you're listening, if you're just joining, you haven't missed. The message so far has been that it pays to be modest than to decide not to be modest. And when you do so, there are so many other good things that come with it. You have a good relationship with people. You have a good relationship with your Lord. You will be able to submit yourself to the dictates of the Quran, and you'll be able to follow the footpath of the Prophet ﷺ. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this month of Ramadan a very blissful one, and a month that would probably make us more modest than what we used to be. Like I always tell you on this program, we always talk about the comprehensiveness of Islam. It's been time out with Hajia Ghaniya Tijani, and the topic is modesty. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for coming. Really appreciate it.
Today you become man and wife, fulfilling the sunnah as way of life. Today you'll find serenity. May your life be filled with sincerity. There is no happier day in your life than the virtue of being man and wife. There's joy without any end. Allah's blessing on this day does descend.